standing eye to eye in a remote corner of a parking lot.
At the military Air Force base, Buddy Benshaw, a seasoned hacker, arrives to solve an internal problem. Apparently, every Wednesday at 3 p.m., the place completely shuts down, blocking out everyone's access to the systems. It starts with the main terminal before it gets to the rest of the system. With only about 4 minutes and 50 seconds till 3 p.m., Buddy gets to work. While Buddy works on his system, the team leader looks at the time and begins the countdown to 3. As expected, everyone's system begins shutting down one after the other. Well, everyone except Buddy's. Seeing how Buddy is still on, the others ask if he's gotten anything, and he says,
"We are just going back a little."
He gives the group 3 guesses to get the location, but no one gets it right since it's where they least expect, Spikanissa. In no time, the arrest team arrives at the location. When they gain access inside the building, they expect to see a group of Russians doing some hacking, but what they find instead is Mel Badinson, just a plain teenager who looks like she can't hurt a fly. Guns are pointed at the very surprised girl who looks like she's been caught with her hands in the cookie jar. Buddy walks in, and he's also surprised to see her. She turns off her system, saying,
"Oops."
Yeah, right, oops indeed. Buddy wonders just how old she is, and she reveals she's 16. He asks how long she's been hacking, but the teenager feels it's none of his business. He tells the officers to give them a moment, and they retreat to the door. He then sits close to her, properly introducing himself. When Mel learns his name, she is instantly taken aback since he's a seasoned hacker. Looks of admiration fill her eyes, but confusion sets in almost immediately. She wonders why he's working for the police, but he fires back, asking,
"Why are you shutting down an Air Force base every week?"
She wonders why not. Her reason being, the noise from their jets chases away all the SEALs. Buddy is surprised that her hard work is for some SEALs, but she feels it isn't that hard. The Russians would definitely disagree with her on that. He puts on her system, wondering how she managed it, but instead of answering, Mel wants to know how he found her. He proposes something, she tells him how she did it, and he'll tell her how he found her. However, before she can reply, the officers call Buddy's name. He tells her the officers would like to talk with her first, and she grins widely, saying,
"Deal."
10 years later, Mel is now an even more skilled hacker. She walks into an electric bus, first of its kind in the Netherlands, where Linda van Erp, the CEO of Rotramax, is giving a speech to her stakeholders. Mel has been sent from Eurocode, where she works, to check the software, and afterwards, Linda will be set to launch it. She is taken to the server room, and Mel gets straight to work. She also places a video call to Rochelle, her colleague, at the same time. Rochelle begins talking about Mel's intended date for the night, while working on her system as well. Mel notices something off in the mainstream and sends it to Rochelle. She wonders if there was a leak, realizing that a pipeline has been put in. That's how the data is being funneled out. Rochelle is surprised at this, since the team has been working on it for 3 months, and Mel is also confused. When Mel says she won't be able to fix it tonight, Rochelle picks the opportunity to tell her it's a sign she should cancel her date, but Mel just gives her the middle finger. Thinking quickly, she says,
"I'm sending a Trojan horse. That'll block him for a while at least."
Just then, a room full of systems with operators get the middle finger across their screen, Mel's message well delivered, making them go into a frenzy. Later that night, Mel arrives at her date, Thomas's house, but it turns out to be a bad date. She quickly comes up with an excuse and leaves the house. Guess Rochelle was right about the date after all. Mel gets home and begins what she does best, hacking into someone's system. She's a big protector of the ecosystem, alongside Jay and Eugene, 2 other skilled hackers. Together, they take over the network, liquidating all assets. Yu asks,
"Mel, do you want to do the honors?"
Mel does just this, leaving her signature middle finger on the system. This is just one of the many people they've taken down. Later, Mel is suddenly woken up from her nap when her system warns her of a disturbance at the front door. With quiet strides, she goes to check, and when she sees the outline of a man, she quickly rushes back in to pack her laptop. She hides at a corner, seeing the men verify her picture. They take out their gun, making her even more scared. She manages to slip out of her apartment, but the men hear her and instantly follow suit. After a hot chase, Mel finally manages to escape them. The men call Rogers, their boss, to update him, and he's not happy about this. He sends Mel's picture to his worker at the operating room where her Trojan horse blocked their system. Her face is brought up, and the process begins. The next morning, Mel arrives at the police station and is made to wait before she can talk to someone. Idris, a detective, finally approaches her and takes her to a room to talk. When he mentions her work as a hacker, she denies, saying she works for a European company instead, standing up to leave. Idris makes her sit and wonders the reason why 2 men would enter her house with her photo. Mel doesn't say anything, but Idris gets a message on his phone. After checking it, he tells her a car has been sent to her apartment and they'll get back to her if anything is found. Before leaving, Mel notices him through the glass walls on the other side, which kicks up a suspicious feeling. At the same time, she also notices the two men who came looking for her. She quickly hides so they don't notice her up there before running out of the room. She sees through the glass wall, discovering that Idris has seen the result of her latest revenge hacking. She also sees the men now walking inside the station. Realizing she's been royally screwed, she puts on her hood and successfully escapes. She runs all the way to a water taxi and boards. Just when she thinks she's escaped, she notices some policemen at the drop-off and quickly hides. She doesn't alight when others do, and to even spoil her mood more, Thomas's message comes in, telling her to pay him for the takeout. Afterward, Mel arrives at Thomas's house. He wonders if she's there to pay him, but she's there to hide. He is confused, but Mel just enters and pulls out her laptop, making a video call. Thomas doesn't understand what she's doing, which makes her frustratingly admit,
I'm being followed by two men. I was at the police station.
Thomas is even more confused, but Jay picks up the call. She tells him about the situation, but before she can even finish, the men appear at the door. She instantly bends down, yelling at Thomas not to answer. Still panicking, she tells Jay to find out if they messed with the wrong guy the previous night. Thomas begins asking who the men are, but Mel has no idea. Before they can even finish, gunshots ring out, and Thomas shouts in fear and surprise, rushing out through the side door. Mel also follows, and they both jump over the fence to escape. The men begin pursuing, and Mel drags Thomas to hide at a blind spot. When the men move in the other direction, they continue their escape. They get to a point and stop to catch their breath. Mel realizes she's being tracked through her phone, and quickly destroys it before pulling Thomas along. They arrive at a restaurant, and Thomas, still floating from adrenaline, says,
exciting date and all, but I think that this is the right moment to go to the police.
However, this is a no for Mel because she's already been there and even seen that the men have access inside. Thomas wonders what he should do, and Mel just tells him to stay hiding because the men now know where he lives. Poor Thomas has unfortunately been dragged into a big problem.
I mean, you just came over to my place for a bad date. That's all.
Mel is clearly hurt, and just as she stands up to leave, the news stops her. She's been painted as a suspect of a murder, with even a video where she's seen shooting the victim. Mel is shocked to see this since she knows that's definitely not her. Thomas asks her what exactly is going on, and she tells him the same thing. Pulling her quickly, he leads her out as she catches her breath, wondering what her life has just become. Following Thomas's lead, they arrive at a building and manage to catch their breaths inside. Mel tells him the person on the news isn't her, and she never shot anyone. Thomas believes her for some reason and wonders what they can do since they can't go to the police. Mel begins calling Jay and Yu. When they pick, it's obvious they've seen the news. Jay feels it's definitely not the guy they hacked the previous night, and Yu wonders who Mel has pissed off. The only reasonable thing Mel can wrap her head around is the hacker she blocked from the bus company. Mel suggests the only way to get somewhere is to tear this video apart, see who made it, and trace it back to them. Jay isn't sure he can pull this off, and suggests they reach out to Buddy. If anyone can do it, it's definitely him. However, Mel doesn't want to ask for his help. At the morgue, Idris inspects the victim's body, Reggie from Ritterkirk, a hacker with a criminal record for phishing. Rosa, another detective, reveals that they're still looking at his connection to Mel. Idris wants to talk to her employee, friends, and family, wanting to know where she's been for the past few days, warrant or not. Back at their space, Thomas sees several articles on his phone about Mel being a murderer. Idris and Rosa pay a visit to Linda for questioning. Idris brings up the hack Mel traced during her last check, but Linda just feels it's a bug in the system. She's discussed it with Xiaoming, her partners who control the server. Rosa asks,
Mrs. Van Erp, is there a chance that someone wants to use your company? A hacker? A criminal?
Linda doesn't think so and subtly dismisses them. While using the toilet, Thomas gets a call from someone who asks to speak to Mel. He comes out to hand her the phone, but she isn't pleased he still has it. Left with no choice, she puts the phone on speaker, and it's no other than Rogers. He reveals he has a client who has had some troubles since she dropped her Trojan horse. She realizes he's the one responsible for the fake clip, and threatens to call the police. Rogers doesn't think it's wise, telling her that her life will be ruined by the time they clear things up. He makes her a deal. She gives him the encryption for the Trojan horse, while he makes her newly acquired problem disappear. She asks what he wants with it, but Rogers feels it's none of her concern. He urges her to focus on her safety instead, and calls out to Thomas, telling him to help Mel make the right decision so they don't eliminate him. Mel quickly ends the call and destroys the phone, before running out of the building with Thomas. They stop at some point, and Thomas suggests she give Rogers the encryption, but Mel knows she's as good as gone if she does that. She reveals,
It's our one and only lifeline.
Thomas is frustrated since he's been dragged into this mess, but Mel calmly tells him she'll know who made the video once she goes over it. She can then prove her innocence and go to the police. Thomas reminds her that neither she nor her friends can do it, but Mel knows who can, Buddy. However, she turned him into the police, and Interpol is after him. Just great. Rosa and Idris pick up Mel and Thomas from the cameras. He shows her the information that just came in.
Our hacker from Ritterkirk. He's a homeless person and known in our database.
Rosa feels this is strange, and Idris agrees. Mel and Thomas arrive at a deserted location on a stolen bike, which is most likely where Buddy is supposed to meet them. Meanwhile, Idris is beginning to doubt the credibility of the video. Rosa feels otherwise since the video has been double-checked by forensics, insisting Mel is the suspect. While waiting for Buddy, Mel reveals they used to find criminal hackers together. They turned them into the police and returned the money to the victims. Well, that's what Mel thought was happening at the time, but actually, Buddy was keeping all the money for himself. He used her, and that's why she called Interpol, although they never found him. Just when she thinks he won't show up, Buddy actually does with his car. He introduces himself to Thomas, and they all drive away. Though the atmosphere is tense, it doesn't stay that way for long because Buddy plays the fake video. Mel stops it, and he wonders who she's made angry. She tells him about Rogers and how he's demanding access to a company she worked for. This only makes Buddy chuckle as he replays the video, asking,
It sucks, right? To be on the run?
They arrive at Buddy's hideout, and it's just like a hacker's lair can be. Mel brings up the bug she found in the company's server on Buddy's system, telling him about the Trojan horse she sent to override it. He makes Mel and Thomas give him space as he begins doing his thing. Afterward, Thomas finds Mel at a corner, and he brings her pizza. But Mel is busy with her system. He wonders if she never gets tired of code, but she admits it calms her head. She shows him what it looks like in her head, and just as they are about to have a passionate, brain-minded kiss, Buddy's voice interrupts. He's found something. When he shows Mel his system, she realizes the hackers and Xiaoming are working for the same company. Buddy affirms, saying,
Yep, your beautiful Trojan horse took down a whole Chinese multinational company.
Apparently, their software is very aggressive, and when it scans your face to get identity information, it can basically control your life. However, the icing on the cake is the fact that all the data they take is being forwarded directly to the Chinese government. That's the reason they went through all that effort in blackmailing Mel. Buddy shares, if the world finds out that China is harvesting data using this software, that's an international drama they can't get out of. Mel realizes just how deep her problem is, and Buddy feels no one would believe a violent hacker. Later that evening, Idris receives a call from Mel, who instantly tells Rosa so they can track her. Mel tells him about everything, but as expected, Idris doesn't believe her. He brings up the murder, and she tells him it's fake. She reveals she's being blackmailed by Rogers and feels he isn't listening to her. Idris assures her he wants to help, insisting she turn herself in so he can do more for her. This just makes Mel frustrated, and she reveals she's sending her information to digital forensics for them to take a look at, before ending the call and removing the battery of the phone. Luckily, Rosa doesn't get the location, and Idris suggests they look into Rogers. Unluckily, Rogers' team have picked up on Mel's location, and they get on the move. Buddy works all through the night, while Mel gets lost in deep thoughts. She wakes up the next morning with a revelation and goes to tell Buddy it's the scan. She reveals, on the bus, they scanned me. That's why the video is so good. Buddy is surprised she let them scan her face, but Mel just asks if she proves the clip is fake, if she gets the scan. When Buddy confirms, Mel decides to go back to Rotterdam. Thomas is confused by this and doesn't think it's a good idea, but Mel is determined to hack the bus and get the scan. However, before she can begin her mission, the sight on the screen stops her. Rogers and his men have arrived. Mel and Thomas rush to meet Buddy, and she tells him they have to go, but Buddy can't leave before erasing everything. He gives her the keys to start the car, telling them to go, while he comes behind. Unfortunately, he doesn't even make it out of his system when the door is blown open and he gets knocked down due to shock. Rogers appears with his gun aimed, glad to finally find him. He asks for Mel, and when Buddy refuses to answer, he shoots him right in the head without remorse. Mel, watching from the other side, is devastated to see this, but Thomas drags her along. They escape in Buddy's car, but Rogers and his guys are just behind. A hot car chase ensues, and Mel urges Thomas to drive faster. Rogers begins shooting at them, making things worse. By some luck, Rogers' car gets stuck in the mud, giving Thomas the opportunity to drive away. Idris and Rosa pay Linda a visit again, and she isn't pleased to see them.
I don't understand why you keep coming back here. It is highly inconvenient. I'm very busy.
Not paying any mind to her outburst, Idris asks about the Xiaoming company, but she tells him to send whatever questions he has to their legal department before walking away. In her office, she makes a video call to Mr. Chen, owner of Xiaoming. Apparently, she knows about the software and is in agreement with Xiaoming, doing everything they've asked of her. She threatens him to fix the loose ends or she will, since she's not about to jeopardize her company. However, she gets surprised when Rogers joins the call. He threatens her entire existence, leaving her at a loss for words. After warning her to never call again, he ends the call. Thomas and Mel stop by the roadside for a break, and Mel still can't get over the horror of what she's witnessed. Feeling a deep pain since Buddy had nothing to do with it, she rushes off the road and begins crying out loudly. Thomas can only watch, unable to do anything else. However, when he finally decides to do something, it's the one thing Mel wouldn't want him to do, calling Idris behind her back. Afterward, they continue their drive, with Jay and Yu on video call. Jay suggests,
"You have to find a way to hide somewhere. You have to disappear for a while, okay?"
But Mel is set on her decision. Jay calls out to Thomas to help back him up, but Thomas tells him Mel doesn't listen to him. Jay gets frustrated, yelling at him to drive her somewhere else since he's the one driving the car. This just only ignites Thomas's anger, since he's been part of the heat from the onset, while Jay, who's sitting behind a computer from whatever side of the world, has the guts to yell at him. He disconnects the call and parks the car, coming down in anger. Mel also comes down and tries calming him. She knows it's a lot, but she can't quit at this stage. Thomas reminds her they are trying to eliminate them both, but she assures him they won't get to him. Thomas tells her they are in it together, bitterly saying,
In fact, you dragged me into this, and somehow you keep thinking only about yourself.
He pulls out his phone, telling Mel that the only ones who can help them from the murderers are the police. Mel is struck with horror and betrayal when Thomas admits he's already called the police. He wants her to stop, but she only backs away from him. She runs to the car, grabs her bag, and bolts, while the unmistakable sound of sirens draws closer. The police arrive and order Thomas to surrender, but Idris and Rosa immediately ask about Mel. Meanwhile, Mel keeps running like her life depends on it. Well, it does. When Idris learns she's gone, he's disappointed and orders the officers to take Thomas to the station for further questioning. Mel arrives at her destination, the launch of the electric bus. She sneaks into the server room undetected and powers up the mainframe. At the station, Thomas tries warning Idris about Rogers, insisting Mel is in danger. Idris doesn't buy it, revealing,
That Roger guy. Nobody knows him. Not in China, not in the Netherlands.
He thinks Thomas is making up the story about the Belgian murder, since no such report has been made. In his office, Idris demands Mel's location, but Thomas stays silent. Idris assures him they're investigating Xiaoming's link to China like Mel asked, but he needs to know where she is to help her. Rosa walks in just then with a report from their Belgian colleagues. Idris opens it and sees a picture of Buddy's body. Thomas asks if he believes him now. Idris is starting to, but still questions why Thomas won't say where Mel is, leaving him torn. Inside the bus, Linda ushers passengers inside the bus, their unsuspecting faces being scanned for the Chinese, even smiling to the scanner. Mel finally discovers her own scan among thousands, but before she can feel triumphant, a gun presses against her head. It's Rogers, and he says,
Well, I must say, you certainly gave us a run for our money.
He emphasizes this by pressing a gun on her head, and she agrees. The bus begins moving, while Linda tells its capabilities to her guests. At the station, Thomas's pleas about Mel are ignored. Frustrated, he steals the car keys from Idris's office and escapes. Rogers grows impatient, but Mel assures him she's almost done. On his phone, he tells the person to get ready for Takeover, but he doesn't expect what Mel does next. She blocks the system and shuts down the lights within the blink of an eye and quickly escapes from a surprised Rogers. Enraged, he chases her all the way into the toilets, kicking open stall doors one by one. At the last stall, he finds it empty. He comes out, but gets greeted with a plank across the face. This makes him lose his grip on the gun, and Mel quickly grabs it, aiming it at him. Just then, police swarm the building from multiple directions. Rogers tells Mel not to do anything stupid, but she yells at him to shut up. However, she doesn't see his attack coming, and just like that, the gun flies out of her grip as she gets knocked down. He grabs her, but she presses on his wound, making him release her. They begin fighting, but Mel manages to escape him and begins running. She freezes when confronted by a wall of officers aiming their guns. She surrenders while Rogers retrieves his weapon and flees back to the server room. There, he opens fire on the mainframe. Linda, her bus, and the passengers instantly face the consequence of this as the bus loses control. Though Mel yells, "You need to go after Rogers," the officers cuff her instead. The system continues getting destroyed, making things worse for Lindy and co. On a call, Rogers orders the evidence and bus destroyed and demands the bridge be opened. But the police close in, leaving him cornered. They order him to drop his weapon. He does the opposite and fires instead. He is shot on the shoulder within the blink of an eye, and the officers cuff him. Mel begs Idris to let her prove her innocence in the server room. He finally agrees, signaling the officers to release her, and they dash off. Inside, they notice the fire, and Mel hands Idris a fire extinguisher. Once contained, she realizes the connection is gone. Through the radio, Rosa reveals the bus is heading straight for the Erasmus Bridge. A laptop is brought in, and they watch the live feed of the bus. Mel insists she can help. If she hacks the bus, she can try to stop it. She sets up her system and puts Jay and Yu on call. They immediately begin asking where she's been, but she assures them she'll explain later. Focusing on the issue on ground, she says,
I've got another problem. A self-driving bus, 15 people, it's not stopping.
Jay says the only option is to get someone on board with a computer they can connect to. Just then, a call from Buddy comes in, making everyone stunned, but it's just Thomas. She realizes he's driving Buddy's car and quickly tells him about the problem. She points out a transceiver in the car, telling him she can access the bus with it. She needs him to get into the bus somehow, and he has to plug the transceiver into the top plug of the receiver at the front of the bus. How Thomas is supposed to manage this impossible feat is a mystery. The police are already gathered at the bridge to clear it, and Rosa notices the bridge is opening. They clearly have little time left. Thomas finally sees the bus and manages to veer his car in front of it. With a little mantra of self-confidence, he plugs out the transceiver and moves towards the back of the car. Mel and the others instantly lose his connection. Things don't go sideways for once, and Thomas successfully climbs inside the bus. Recalling Mel's instruction, he plugs the transceiver in, and she gains access. Just as the bus is about to plunge into the bridge, Mel stops it on time, leaving everyone relieved. That was one close call. She also manages to get the scan from the bus, proving to Idris that the video is fake. Police escort the passengers out of the bus as they cry in relief, while Mel walks out free and victorious from the building, giving Rogers, who's bandaged up with the police, her signature middle finger. Some days later, Mel receives a video message from Buddy. It's a message programmed to be sent to her if he ends up eliminated, and he reveals he loved hanging out with her. All the money I kept for myself, I didn't use everything. I built a network for you. This is her chance to change the world, and he's definitely proud of her. This touches Mel deeply as she smiles in appreciation. Her bond with Thomas deepens as they bask in the obvious affection they have for each other. Well, a bad date can definitely turn good. If you've made it to the end, hit the like button, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next recap.